mortgage rates of 2022, what you need to know and do to get that loan process done, and hopefully get that offer with a loan attached to it in front of the offers that are cash. Okay, I have talked to Bobby Andrus about a lot when it comes to lending. We've talked about first-time home buyers, we've talked about some very special loan products that fit certain borrowers, but today we're talking about something that everybody needs to know about if you are in the market for a loan, and that is rising mortgage rates, insurance, cash offers. Okay.
Hi, my name is Bobby Andrus with University Lending Group.
We all know that mortgage rates are on the rise. So we are going to talk about what borrowers need to know in order to get a loan, and not just get that loan, but to get that loan ahead of a cash deal, because that's very important today. And Bobby Andrus is going to help us understand and know some of those things that we need to know.
Absolutely. So, as it turns out, many of you have heard in the news, interest rates are going up. They're going up fairly rapidly, quicker than they probably anticipated in the fourth quarter of last year. So with that being said, it is becoming more and more important to get your buyers in, to get them qualified, to get all of their documentation in, and really just the sense of urgency at this point, because we don't know where interest rates are going to level out, and so it could kick a certain portion of buyers out of qualifying for the price range that they're trying to qualify, or for the price range where there's actually inventory to qualify for.
Right. Everybody's having to get very creative right now. You just mentioned something about getting their documentation in as early as possible. Will you kind of just elaborate on that a little bit and tell us exactly why that's so important today specifically?
Yeah, so the process is usually that we as loan officers will take someone's information over the phone, run their credit, get a little bit about their income over the phone verbally, and that's how we kind of make an initial decision and base our initial decision off of. But really what matters is that the documentation that they show us and everything that they tell us over the phone matches up with what's on paper and what's reported to the government.
Okay, so just because to help everybody understand, they call you and you guys are going to tell them which documentation that they need to get in ASAP.
Yes.
That's going to be part of that conversation.
Correct.
Okay, so you heard it. Getting your documentation in as soon as possible is very important, and lenders like Bobby are going to actually be there ahead of the game with you, tell you what you need to be getting in, and not waiting till you get further down the line in the loan process. It's going to happen right up front.
Correct.
Buyers, or borrowers, I should say, have always had to get pre-approved. So how are you guys handling the pre-approval process now in today's market specifically?
So in today's climate, whereas before we would have just taken the verbal, we would have gotten some documentation from them just to make sure it kind of jived. Now, with the sense of urgency, with the lack of inventory and so many offers going into any particular property.
So much cash.
Yeah. We're now taking their documentation, running it through underwriting, having a real underwriter kind of sign off, verify that all of their documents have, passed the test and gotten the proper verifications from their employers, and taking that next step to make sure that they are 100% good to go once they do find a house, once the seller does accept an offer for them.
Okay, so hear me out on this. Instead of just getting a basic pre-approval, you're going the extra mile and almost, what would you call that outside of a pre-approval? Is there a specific word?
A true underwriting approval.
A true underwriting approval.
At a certain price point or under a hypothetical price point, and then from there,
you still have to really go through underwriting.
Yeah, from then on, really all you would need is to find the house, order an appraisal, get insurance, update a couple of your bank statements and your pay stubs, and then basically be done with it.
Okay, so going back to what we first talked about before, getting that information in, or the documentation that they're asking for, as quickly as possible is going to get you through that approval process faster and help with what price point you're at, hopefully getting ahead of a cash offer and getting it closed as quickly as possible. Borrowers always get their closing cost estimates, and typically within 3 days of the application period, but it sounds like Bobby in the company he works for, University Lending, is doing things a little differently even with that. And it is in order for you borrowers to get your offer ahead of that cash offer should you be up against one. So kind of elaborate on that a little bit.
Right, so once you've identified the property that you intend on making an offer on, we'll go in, we'll mock up like a worst case scenario closing cost, just so that your buyer would know what the worst would look like and kind of position their offer based on that. If they were to try to pay for some or all of the seller's closing costs as well as their closing costs in order to get their offer accepted over someone else's.
So they're going to pad it up for you, and hopefully it's going to be worst case scenario so that when you do get your final number, it should be less, hopefully, fingers crossed. But again, this is to position borrowers ahead of those cash offers.
And to manage your expectations throughout the process as
Absolutely,
well.
absolutely. And make quick decisions, because we're making quick decisions right now in real estate.
Yeah.
They're very fast. Insurance is a big deal in Florida right now. Stephanie has already done a video on it, but I do want to ask Bobby, give us a little bit of information of what the lender themselves are actually doing to help with that process of the borrower getting across the finish line.
Yeah, absolutely. So this year, in conjunction with rates going up, especially here in Florida, we've also seen insurance premiums go up. And so it's kind of created double the effect, canceling out a certain number of people in terms of what they're looking at and what the monthly payment would be, and they're qualifying. So it's become kind of an issue to where we will take the initiative, go out up front, ask some insurance agents for quotes and whatever reports that they may need in order to secure the premiums and make sure that that premium is accurate going throughout the process.
So it's almost really important to know what you could possibly be paying in insurance before you even determine what price house you're looking at.
Yes, it is having the greater effect this year than years previous.
Yes. Okay, so we have been talking strategy. I would like to take it to strategy with different types of mortgage rates, or how you get your loan, conventional versus, maybe an ARM or interest only, which I know those are few and far between, but just kind of give us some strategy in that sense.
Sure. Right now we're taking the position that rates are going up, can't do anything about it. So the very least we can do is just secure the property, secure it as an asset, and to offset some of the higher rates, you're going to start seeing adjustable rate mortgages come back into the fold.
Okay, hold on one second. What is the adjustable rate mortgage definition? Because I don't know the proper definition, and I'm sure that a lot of borrowers don't either.
Right, and it's got a lot of bad press after the last debacle in 2008, the housing crisis. But an ARM is essentially your rate is going to be fixed for 5, 7, 10 years, and then there's going to be adjustments after that fixed period. Is really the way you want to think about it.
Okay. What type of borrower is a good candidate for an adjustable rate mortgage?
Generally one that's very qualified and I guess who has a little bit of room to work with in their debts versus their income versus what the government says we have to adhere to.
So maybe not a first-time home buyer, depending on...
Correct. Probably not a first-time home buyer unless they're very, very financially conservative in what they make versus what they save in their spending habits.
Okay. So in Destin, Florida, we see a lot of second home investment property lending or purchasing, whether it's cash or lending. So how would an adjustable rate mortgage work for a said second home or investment loan?
I mean, so statistically, because your general person is going to buy and sell within a certain amount of time, I think national average is about 7 years. So in that scenario, you got to figure their interest rate's going to be locked in for 7 years. So it should be locked in for the term that they intend on holding the property. Okay. So it's fairly riskless in that sense of it adjusting upward after that. And then there's also a cap structure built in so that it doesn't adjust out of control. So
if you think you're not going to hold on to your property for more than 7 years, an adjustable rate mortgage is possibly the way to go.
Yeah, absolutely. You're going to get a more aggressive rate than you would for, say, a 30-year fixed or a 20-year fixed. And so it does kind of pay dividends over that time that you intend on holding the house.
Gotcha. We talked about strategy, securing a loan, hopefully getting in front of those cash offers. We've talked about the adjustable rate mortgage, because that is a strategy that you could possibly use depending on what type of borrower you are. I have a question for Bobby. I'm going to ask you that question that everybody's asking. What are your predictions for mortgage rates in 2022?
Based on some of the reports that I've read and some of the analysts have put out there into the world, we seem to think that interest rates will probably start tapering off at the end of this summer or going into fall of this year.
I think that's good news.
Yeah, absolutely. At least give us a little more stability to work off of.
Yeah. I really hope that this video was helpful. I hope all the videos are helpful, but this one hopefully was very helpful for borrowers specifically, all kinds of borrowers. It sounds like university lending is coming out with even more product to help fit the market that we are in today. If you want to get a proper pre-approval and get that information up front, scan the QR code below. Bye, we'll see you next Thursday.